In the new legislature convened last week, margins are tight. The recession shrunk revenues by $500 million to $113 billion. In this pandemic, competition for scarce resources becomes a fight for life and death for devastated communities like the elderly and people with disabilities. 160,000 Americans in nursing homes have died. Bob Kafka at Adaptive Texas, one of the most influential disability groups, said this legislative session is really going to be very, very tough, especially around any kind of funding for services.
Our two really big issues, and very broadly speaking, is finding ways to get and keeping people out of nursing facilities and other institutions. And the two things related to that, one is about increasing the benefits and wages for community attendants, and two, working on increasing affordable, accessible, integrated housing. They're sort of linked. And so most of our legislative priorities are going to be to pursue, like I said, funding to, end the waiting list for all the services, but two, to find ways to divert people from nursing facilities or get people out where the opportunity is there.
Right. Bob, do you see that if there's any more traction or attention on the issue of home and community-based services, especially in the wake of COVID?
Well, one of the things that we're hopeful, like I said, money is going to be scarce, so we may not see tons of money, but I think there's a growing awareness that congregate care, nursing facilities, assisted living, group homes, is just not the right policy, that we have to focus on home and community-based services. How exactly that restructuring may happen, I don't know, but I think there's an opportunity to make people aware. One illustration is Texas still has some money called money following the person. Well, we're making the case with COVID, since so many people who have died from COVID are in nursing facilities, that now people are saying, hey, well, maybe that isn't where we should focus giving people services. So I think we now have an opportunity to restructure so people are not as easily just dumped into a nursing facility. So we are working where maybe divert people, instead of going from the hospital to the nursing facility, you might go hospital to home and community-based services. It's a little bit more work, but I think we have an opportunity to make that happen.
Okay. That leads to my next question. It seems like I don't know if you want to call it a pipeline. It seems like to put people in nursing homes is almost like the default position, the way I understand it. So what I find ironic is that actually to keep people in their own homes and support them there costs far less money than to institutionalize someone. So can you explain why that is? I mean, it's very ironic, especially now as Texas is looking to save money in their budget. Why would we continue doing it that way? Why is it that way?
It is. There's a couple of things. One, federally, there is an entitlement to nursing facilities, and home and community-based waivers, services are optional, and that's just in the Medicaid law. So states, start from that sort of, basis. The other reason is that you need to have a system in place to divert people, so that when, let's say, somebody has a stroke, that you don't immediately just say, oh my God, we have to put my dad into a facility. I mean, it is the fastest and the easiest, but if you have a system where there are service coordinators that can get you the services in a timely fashion, you might need some durable medical equipment like a walker or a scooter or a motorized wheelchair, that type of thing. The other problem is, we don't have a good number of affordable and accessible housing. And so the system, it's much easier to just dump people. And we do describe it as dumping people into nursing facilities. But like I said, I think both nationally and at the state level, we're starting to recognize that 55-year-old entitlement is, fundamentally needs to change. And the new administration has a lot of proposals that may, open the way to make people, get home and community-based services.
Okay. Bob, are you looking at, I know these are policy goals that you're looking at, but are there any particular pieces of legislation that are out there that kind of embody these principles that you're kind of galvanizing support around?
Well, some of it will be, in the budget. And so, even though I say it's a tough session, we're still hoping that there'll be some incentive money to increase the community attendant workforce. So even though, like I said, it's going to be a tough push, we are hopeful that can happen. So right now there is a specific bill, but I believe that we're going to see some innovative type things. It may end up not being legislation so much, but direction to the Health and Human Services Commission to start restructuring and moving, which, may be as effective as legislation. So, but what we are trying to get from the leadership, and it's truly Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and now Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan, to start really taking some leadership and, talking about this as a critical issue, as important as some of the other things that are going to be coming up this session.
Another issue before the legislature is Medicaid expansion. If the state expanded Medicaid like 38 others have before it, about 1.2 million Texans be insured, and the federal government would pay 90% of the cost. Kafka said people with disabilities have strong allies this session. They include ARP, whose members are affected by COVID and nursing home issues. Also, the managed care industry, which administers home health services and would benefit from more serious support for the issue. For the People's News, this is John Moeller reporting.